the 2025 US-China trade war escalation. The seeds of this year's chaos were planted long ago. In 2018, the Trump administration fired the first major shots, slapping tariffs on billions of dollars of Chinese goods. China didn't just sit back, it hit key American industries with tariffs of its own. This tit-for-tat fight created a cycle of tension that has rattled global markets ever since. For a while, things were relatively quiet under the Biden administration, which kept a firm stance but avoided major new escalations. But with the return of the Trump administration in January 2025, the conflict reignited with a vengeance. The America First agenda was back, and tariffs were once again the main weapon in its economic arsenal. In the first few months of 2025, the US imposed a series of rapid-fire tariffs on Chinese imports. In February, a 10% tariff was slapped on all Chinese imports, citing national emergency powers. By March, that rate doubled to 20%. Then in April, things spiraled. A series of increases brought the US tariff rate on most Chinese goods to a shocking 145%. China's response was just as dramatic. It fired back with its own duties, which peaked at 125% on US goods in April. At those levels, China declared that trade had become effectively unmarketable. The fallout has been severe. In the first 8 months of 2025, China's exports to the US fell by a staggering 15.5%. The pain for China's economy has been real. Projections for its 2025 growth have been revised downward, with the World Bank forecasting 4.5% and the Asian Development Bank predicting 4.7%, a clear slowdown from its previous pace. With its largest single-country trading partner putting up a wall, China has been forced to push goods to other markets, with exports to Southeast Asian nations and the EU on the rise. But at home, things are shaky. Chinese households are spending less. Wage growth has slowed, and the threat of deflation is looming. Back in the United States, the effects have been messy. The goal was to protect American manufacturing, but the reality is far more complicated. While some manufacturing sectors saw gains, studies project these have been offset by losses in other areas, like construction and agriculture. Some analyses project that the tariffs will cause a significant drop in real income for Americans. One early 2025 estimate suggested the tariffs could translate to an average tax increase of over $1,200 per US household this year, and this isn't just a two-country problem. The ripple effects are global. Close US trading partners like Canada and Mexico have been hit hard. The aggressive US tariff policy has also pressured allies. For instance, Mexico announced plans for new tariffs of up to 50% on Chinese cars and other goods, a move widely seen as influenced by pressure from Washington, even as Mexican officials claim it's to protect their own industries. So, what's the endgame here? This is more than an economic spat. It's a geopolitical chess match, and both sides are playing by very different rules. For the United States, the strategy is aggressive and unapologetic protectionism. The goals are to slash the trade deficit, force companies to bring manufacturing back to the US, and directly confront what the administration calls China's unfair trade practices. China, on the other hand, is playing the long game. Its approach is strategic and patient. Beijing has publicly slammed the US moves as economic coercion, positioning itself as a defender of global trade. Its countermeasures are described as defensive and are often highly targeted. For example, China has repeatedly aimed its retaliatory tariffs at politically sensitive American products like soybeans, pork, and corn to apply maximum pressure in key US electoral states. At the same time, China is working hard to cut its economic dependence on the US. It's strengthening trade with other regions, especially in Asia, and doubling down on its Made in China 2025 plan to become self-sufficient in critical tech sectors. After months of turmoil, a surprising development came in May 2025. Following meetings in Geneva, both sides announced a temporary truce. This wasn't a peace treaty, but it was a significant step back from the edge. The US agreed to lower its main tariff rate on Chinese goods from its peak down to 30%. In return, China cut its tariffs on US goods to 10%. This ceasefire brought immediate, though temporary, relief. The logic was clear. Both sides needed to ease the inflationary pain hitting their consumers and stabilize the economy. The truce was initially set for 90 days, and after further talks in cities like Stockholm and London, was extended.